Tonight, we follow the strange paper trail of a fortune people thought had been destroyed. A court order broke Standard Oil into pieces, but the ownership did not disappear with the company name. Before the story begins, leave a comment with the country you're watching from and choose the old money structure we should cover next: trusts, banking dynasties, land empires, inheritance wars, or hostile takeovers. Lower the room, let the noise fade out, and hold on to one question. How does a monopoly lose its body but keep its wealth? That is the strange thing about Rockefeller's 1911 breakup. That year, the Supreme Court of the United States ordered Standard Oil broken into pieces. To the public, it looked like a death sentence, but the ruling did not delete Rockefeller's ownership. Within 2 years, his fortune was being estimated at more than $900 million. Not because the court failed, because by 1911, the fortune was no longer sitting inside one company. It was sitting in stock certificates, trust instruments, holding company shares, and claims the court order never touched. The government broke the container. The wealth had already moved to the next one. That is the deeper Rockefeller story. Not that the monopoly vanished, not that the fortune disappeared. The deeper story is that the fortune kept changing legal form, and every time the world learned where to attack it, the money was already somewhere else. He did not just build an oil company, he built a machine for control. In 1870, Standard Oil was incorporated in Ohio. At first, it looked like an oil refining business. Refineries, barrels, railroads, tank cars, lamps, smoke. But Rockefeller was not only thinking about oil, he was thinking about the system around oil. Control the refining, control the transportation, control the costs, control the distribution. If enough of the system could be disciplined, chaos could become predictable. By around 1880, Standard Oil controlled roughly 90 to 95% of oil refining in the United States. That number is the part people remember. The quieter part is the legal problem underneath it. 19th century corporations were not built for empires that stretched across states. A company chartered in one place could face limits when trying to own or control companies somewhere else. The business had outgrown the container. So in 1882, Rockefeller's Circle created a new container, the Standard Oil Trust. The word trust sounds harmless, but here, the trust was a control room. Shareholders in different Standard Oil companies exchanged their shares for trust certificates. Trustees held the shares. The trustees collected profits, declared dividends, and selected officers and directors across the component companies. To the public, it could still look like many companies. Behind the paperwork, it acted like one machine. There is a surviving artifact from that moment, an 1882 Standard Oil Trust certificate signed by John D. Rockefeller. It issued 1,000 shares in the trust to Rockefeller himself. It is just paper, but old money is often paper with the right signatures. That paper represented the invention. Scattered companies converted into centralized control. That paper made the invisible visible for the only time. The public hated Standard Oil not only because it was large, but because it was hard to see clearly. The refinery was visible, the rail cars were visible, the price wars were visible. The trust sat behind the scene. That distinction matters. A monopoly can be attacked when it looks like one thing. A structure is harder to attack when it can say it is many things. In 1892, the Ohio Supreme Court ordered the trust dissolved. That should have been the ending. It was not. The machinery adapted. What had been trust control became stock control. What had been a legal target became a new legal form. In 1899, Standard Oil of New Jersey became the center of the system. New Jersey had recently changed its corporate law. For the first time, a corporation chartered there could legally own stock in other corporations. That was the difference. A trust needed trustees, people who could be named, sued, and subpoenaed. A holding company was a corporation that owned other corporations. It had no trustees to target. It filed papers, held shares, and collected dividends. It did not need to refine oil, run rail cars, or sell kerosene itself. It owned the companies that did those things. That is why the legal form mattered. The refinery was noisy and public. The ownership layer was quiet. Once the power sat above the operating companies, the visible business could be reorganized without destroying every economic claim attached to it. Instead of trustees holding the shares, a corporation could hold the shares of other corporations. Same gravity, different container. This is the old money protocol. Make the fortune in one form, then, before the world can fully attack that form, move the wealth into another container. This is the part of the story that matters for old money. The fortune was not just accumulated, it was translated. Business profit became securities, securities became control, control became legal architecture, and legal architecture could survive attacks against any one piece of it. In 1911, the United States Supreme Court ordered Standard Oil broken apart under antitrust law. In the public imagination, this was the end of the empire. Legally, it mattered. The breakup was real. It reshaped American corporate law and told the country that even the largest private combinations could be challenged. But financially, Rockefeller still owned claims on the pieces. His wealth was not sitting in barrels of oil. It was sitting in stocks, dividends, assets, and future cash flows. The public saw a monopoly broken apart. Rockefeller saw a portfolio. Each piece could trade, pay dividends, and survive under its own name. The empire had stopped looking like a single body and started looking like a set of financial organs. That is why old money is hard to kill with a headline. A headline attacks a symbol. A fortune survives through ownership. After the breakup, the old Standard Oil system became a set of successor companies. Over time, pieces of that system evolved into names that still echo through modern energy markets. The point is not that nothing changed. The point is that ownership survived the change. The same legal order that broke the empire also converted it into a basket of valuable claims. The single target became many assets. The symbol became a portfolio. The monopoly became a map. When wealth sits in one operating company, it is exposed. When it moves into securities, entities, boards, endowments, and claims, it becomes harder to see in one frame. The next transformation was philanthropy. In 1913, the Rockefeller Foundation was chartered in New York. Congress had fought it. Lawmakers spent years blocking the federal charter because they did not want the most powerful private fortune in the country to also control a permanent institution. Rockefeller's team went to the New York State Legislature instead. The foundation received an initial endowment of $100 million. Its stated purpose was to receive and maintain funds, then apply income and principal to charitable purposes around the world. The scene changed. The smoke of the refinery gave way to the quiet table of the foundation board. The courtroom gave way to grant ledgers. The oil barrel gave way to laboratories, universities, and public health campaigns that would eventually help eradicate hookworm in the American South. The giving was real. The institutions it built still exist. But here is the structural point. A foundation does not spend down like a one-time gift. It holds assets, earns returns, and distributes income over time. The Rockefeller name moved from courtroom defendant to institutional benefactor, and the endowment kept compounding. Money once associated with monopoly became associated with research, medicine, and civic life. That does not erase the way the fortune was made. It changes the room in which the fortune is remembered. The fortune did not disappear because it became small. It disappeared from view because it became institutional. The company made the money. The trust coordinated the power. The holding company preserved the control. The breakup converted the empire into a portfolio. The foundation converted reputation into legacy. And the institution made the money feel older than the conflict that produced it. That is how a monopoly becomes old money, not by staying in one place, by changing legal form every time the world learns where to look. Rockefeller built the first version of that machine, but the man who perfected it never drilled a well, never built a refinery, and never shipped a barrel. He sat in a quiet office on Wall Street and he controlled the money itself. That story is next.